Good morning. We're here at the Perry County Farmers Market down in the beautiful Triangle Park in downtown Hazard. We've got a few vendors here. As the summer goes on, we'll have more and more. So Saturday mornings the market is the place to be. And we're going to do a little, cook a few things here today. I'm going to make 3 different things because it's summer and we have all this gorgeous produce and beautiful things. And we really want to make things that are quick, that are healthy, and ideally things that we can sort of stash in the fridge to pull out through the week while we're out hiking or at the pool or at the lake, or I guess working if you're so unfortunate that you have to do that in the summer. I am really blessed to be able to work at Hazard Community and Technical College, and I do not take the June and July off that I have lightly. It really energizes me. It makes me ready for the new semester, and it gives me a lot of time to come down and volunteer at the farmers market. I'm really excited. We're getting ready to start our Fresh Stop Market season, which is a program that we have to make fresh food available to everybody, regardless of their income. We're excited to partner with Save the Children, the Kentucky River District Health Department, and with Mother of Good Counsel Catholic Church to provide fresh, locally grown produce to people who might not have access to it otherwise for whatever reason. And we love this because it allows us to put money back into the pockets of farmers that we know and that we love. We want to give a big shout out and happy anniversary to our happy hens who are taking a much needed vacation, but some of this produce today is from them. So I'm going to get started really fast. I'm going to start out by making a pesto. Now when we talk about pesto, we really always tend to think of the classic basil, pine nut, garlic pesto, but pesto really just means paste, and you can make it out of almost anything, and I do. It's one of those things that I really love to whip up and have in the fridge. I sometimes will put a spoonful of it into dressing. I'll spoon it over cooked meats, I'll spoon it over roasted vegetables, or I'll just spoon it directly into my mouth if I am of a desire to do that. But it's kind of a base. You can dip it out and eat it on crackers or bread. You can use it to make crostini. Like I said, you can add it to soups or to dressings, to almost anything. So we're gonna make our pesto today with dandelion greens, which I picked out of my yard. So I have a no-mow yard, and that sounds like I'm doing something really intentional to encourage pollinators and healthy things in my yard, and I am, but the truth is I'm just too lazy to mow. And I don't like grass. It's so pointless. It doesn't do anything. And so I've got my yard covered pretty much in violets and dandelions and other things that kind of grow down. So these are just some small dandelion greens that I picked this morning. And these are the radish greens that came off the tops of these beautiful radishes from Old Home Place Farm in Oneida, Kentucky. These were part of my CSA, my Community Supported Agriculture Share. So at the beginning of the season, or actually earlier in the winter, I went ahead and I paid for my CSA, my Community Supported Agriculture Share. And now every week I don't have to think about it, I don't have to remember. Maggie brings me vegetables, whatever's most ripe and most fresh at Old Home Place Farm. And it's always a real challenge to decide what to cook with those. I really like to try to be an ingredient-driven cook. So rather than seeing a recipe and figuring out that I want to make it and going and finding all the things to make it, my preferred mode, especially in the summer when we've got so much produce, is to see what's fresh, see what's here, and then figure out what to make with that. So I'm going to be cooking something else with these a little bit later, but I'm going to be using the greens in this pesto. So I've cleaned these and I've wrapped them in a tea towel to dry them a little bit. And I'm gonna give them just a super rough chop, but then I'm gonna put them in this little food processor. So you could do this by hand with a mortar and pestle. You could do it in a food processor. You could do it in a blender. I really like this little tool because it makes small amounts and it's pretty easy to use. And so I'm just gonna dump those greens in there. I'm gonna take a clove or 2 of garlic. And honestly, sometimes I put even more in because I love garlic and I don't think you can have too much. I'm pretty sure that it's impossible, but today I'm just gonna put in these 2 cloves. And I'm just, again, gonna rough chop these because this is a pretty small food processor and it's not super powerful. And did you see how I kind of squeezed these to get the skins to loosen up? I just sort of squeezed it a little bit and then that loosened the skin and now it's peeling right off. This is garlic from the grocery store, but I will tell you one of the things I am most looking forward to is garlic from our farmers. And we got some garlic scapes this week, and I thought about using those, but to be honest, I didn't want to share them because I love them so much. So I'm just gonna, again, just kind of rough chop this. It doesn't have to be anything special because it's gonna go in here. I just wanna make it a little easier for this little tiny food processor to do this work. And then I'm gonna add the zest of a lemon. So let's talk about lemons. We love lemons. We love lemon juice. They really brighten things up. They are not something that we grow locally unless we're very, very lucky. But they're something I always have in my refrigerator, and I add them to a lot of things. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this vegetable peeler, and I want to get just the yellow part, not the white pith underneath. This is called the zest of the lemon. You can also use a microplane to grate it, but since I'm going to chop this up anyway, I'm just going to peel this off in strips. And then I'm going to chop it a little bit, and you can see how I'm not getting the white part. I'm just getting, and oh, that's so fragrant. A lot of the oils that make a lemony are in that, and you can do this with any citrus fruit. You can do it with orange, you can do it with lime, and it's going to give it kind of a real distinctive flavor. It's almost a little bit bitter, which I kind of want for this, right? I've got these radish greens, which are kind of spicy. I'm a little spicy, and then the dandelion greens are a little spicy, so I'm really wanting the sort of bitter to cut that. And I'm again just going to kind of rough chop these since I'm putting it in this little food processor. And then I have some walnuts that I have toasted before I came to add a little body to it. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to dump some of those in. I toasted these a little bit just because it really wakes up the flavor and gives them a little bit fuller flavor. And then I'm just going to top that with some olive oil.
Somebody jumped me over this. Uh-oh, I didn't mean to interrupt.
You're not interrupted.
Boy, that looks good. I don't know anything with that.
Well, in a minute, you can try this, Andrew, because, oops, and that's way too much salt. And I'm going to put a little bit of salt in there. And then I'm just going to snap this on. And I'm going to just use this immersion blender to power it. I can also use this
Is this going on YouTube?
I could have used this just directly with the little blades on it, but I think I get a better texture when I use this. I've started with just a little bit of oil because I really do want this to be like a paste, but I'm going to probably need to add a little bit more to get the texture that I want. But not a lot more. And I'm going to just scrape down the sides a little bit. Now I could have thrown in, and had I would have thrown in some spicy pepper, maybe a jalapeno or a little cayenne pepper, or any of the peppers that our farmers grow, because our farmers grow so many amazing peppers. And later on in the summer, I will do that. And if you want to Google, this is not really a chimichurri, but it sort of is. And if you want to Google that, you can see other recipes for it. But just remember that pesto doesn't have to be pesto. I might throw some parsley in this. I'm going to taste it, and I'm going to see if I think that it needs something that's not quite as spicy as the radish and the... But no, I think that's really good. So I like this. Somebody else might find that it has a little bit of too much of a radishy, bitter flavor. And if that were true, you could throw in a bunch of parsley. Parsley is a beautiful, this came out of just my window boxes. I grow it because I use so much of it. But we also have farmers that grow it and sell it at the market. And parsley is a really nice herb to have on hand because it's got a bright, clean flavor, but it's a fairly mild flavor and it pairs well with all kinds of things. So I might go ahead and throw a little bit of that in there just to brighten up that flavor and smooth it out a little bit. And I'm just picking the leaves off. One of the things that's nice about both parsley and cilantro is that you can really use the stems as well. So I could just throw the whole stems in there, but honestly, my little food processor is so delicate it can't handle it. So I'm just going to put a little bit more of that in there. And we'll whir it up a little bit. And what I'm excited to try this on decided to pair this with is a little bit of meat. And in a minute, we're gonna talk to our friends from Roaring Shoals, and here they come now. I love meat, and in the summer, a lot of times that'll be the only thing I cook, right? Everything else is gonna be a raw chopped salad or something, and I always really want some bright flavors. So I love meat, but when I look at my plate, I want to only see about a quarter of my plate being meat and the rest being good, green, healthy vegetables. So, hi. Roaring Shoals Farm, tell us about your farm.
Sure. We have a beef farm in Rusaw, Kentucky, which is in Breathitt County. We raise our beef. They're born on our farm, raised on our farm. They're grain finished, so they have that nice good marbling throughout the steaks. And today we're sampling skirt steak that I just grilled.
Which is one of my favorite things ever. And Andrew, can we get you to try this? So,
Yeah, I'll try anything.
the thing that I love most about your all's meat is that it's, well, first of all, the thing I love most about this meat is that you guys raise it.
Right.
So my money is not going into the pockets of some anonymous feedlot out in the Midwest where they're having to just devastate the environment in order to raise meat. My money's going into your pocket, and that really makes me feel good. I know that your animals are beautifully raised, humanely treated, and lovingly processed and dry aged.
Exactly.
That makes such a huge difference. Dry aging makes the most enormous difference. And I'm just gonna spoon a little bit of this right on here, and we're gonna let's see what our audience.
Get one of these little baby spoons.
Well, you can. I'm just gonna looky here. I'm using my fingers.
She's just gonna go for it.
Okay, that's good, but I'll be honest with you. What I'm thinking, I'm sitting here watching you make this, and what I've got going through my mind with this taste, instead of the olive oil, vinaigrette type, it's like Italian dressing in there.
Do you want more lemon?
I want a little more
Acidity.
A little more acid?
Yeah, more acid.
vinaigrette and the spices in that dressing.
Hand it here.
It's just an ideal. It's just an ideal, but I'm going to
Now
try.
try it.
I
Well, and
watch
that
a lot of
beef has
YouTube
lime juice in it.
videos on cooking, and I kind of change a few things here and there in it. But I think this would be really good made with Italian dressing.
It probably would. I don't use a lot of store-bought dressings, but we could put some fresh oregano in there when that comes into market
Yeah.
and get those flavors. The pepper, I think, would be good with it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So how can people get your meat, Amy?
We have a website, www.roaringshows.farm. You can also follow us on Facebook. It's RSF Beef, and on Instagram. Or just come out to the farm. Like I said, we're 12 miles from Jackson. You can make an appointment, come out and see us. Probably won't see the cows because they're way back on top of a strip mine, but we can schedule that sometime if you'd like. But yeah, just contact us. Our phone number and everything's online. We're really easy to find.
That's delicious. So you're pasturing your cows on reclaimed mine land.
Yes, ma'am.
So you're doing so many awesome things for Eastern Kentucky. Thank you. Oh, that was delicious. I think it was perfect. How are you, Jordan?
Doing good.
What up, Scooter? You want some meat? Okay, the next thing that we're gonna make is a salad that I really love.
Yeah.
And it's made with radishes. So these are radishes from Old Home Place Farm, and the way that I'm going to cut these up is I'm going to use what's called a mandolin, and this is a tool that I really like to have. You can't play it. I mean, maybe someone could, but it's got a blade here that's sharp, and you can adjust how thick or thin you want your cut to be. And so I want this to be pretty thin. We'll give that a try. I use with this, it's called a chainmail glove. It's not really chainmail, and it looks stained, and it is stained, but I've washed it. So this will just keep me from slicing my fingers off. And let's give it one test here. It's maybe a little too thin. I'm just gonna adjust it down a little bit. That's better. And then I'm just gonna slice these. And I use my mandolin in the summer a lot to slice. When I want thin slices of things, you can also do fancy little crinkle cuts. I tend not to do much fancy of anything, really, to be honest. And these radishes are so good. I can't wait for all the other radishes to come in. Watermelon radishes, breakfast radishes, the little tiny red radishes. They're one of my favorite summer things because I love that sharp bite that they add to salads and to other dishes. I like to just eat them raw on the side of on the side of salads. And this is a recipe that I saw many years ago, and I can't remember where I saw it, and I can't find the original recipe, so I'm sure I've completely changed it. But that's what we do with recipes, right? We find something that we like, or we eat something that we like, and then we adapt it to, most importantly, to what we have on hand and what's fresh and what's local and what's coming in, and also to our own taste. You know, if you like something more salty, add more salt to it. If you want something more spicy, add more spice to it. If you don't like strong flavors, then keep things simple. This is one of the most simple salads that I make. It has nothing in it but radishes, lemon juice, fresh parsley, tuna, or in this case I'm using some salmon because I think it's prettier, and a little salt and a grating of fresh pepper. Now, like I said, I think there were other things in the original recipe, but I can't remember. You could certainly add, instead of using tuna with this or salmon with it, you could certainly leave the meat out. You could add cooked chicken or thinly sliced beef. You could add other vegetables to it. But what I love about it is just the simplicity of it. So I'm going to start with this. And I'm just going to take these pretty little radishes. And I'm going to take my lemon reamer. This is one of my favorite tools. It's better it works, I think it works better than any kind of thing that you squeeze with or juice with. And it's just a little textured, and it just sticks right into.
That is a nice little tool.
And it really gets all the juice out. Now, if this had had very many seeds, I would have strained it out. I like to have that little bit of pulp in there. And I'm just gonna salt this pretty heavily. And then I'm gonna add those radishes to it. And I'm gonna toss those around a little bit. And ideally you wanna let this sit for just a few minutes, really, 5 or 10 minutes before, and it'll probably take me that long to add. And I'm just sort of separating them, see how they're sort of sticking together. This is the simplest salad, and it's one of my favorites, and it holds really nicely in the fridge. So it's great for those midday lunches. You can make it the week ahead. I know a lot of people who do have to work in the summer. It's really helpful if you can get some stuff, come down to the market on Saturday mornings, get some good fresh produce, and then go ahead and clean it and minimally prep it. There are some things that you probably shouldn't wash because it'll make them degrade or get mushy. But figure out what you can. Do some research. Look it up. If you are lucky enough to belong to Old Home Place Farms Community Supported Agriculture Group, then Maggie gives us this great little guide to how to store and prepare our vegetables. But you know, have some stuff chopped up, have some stuff ready, have some stuff clean, so that when you're hungry, it's easier to get into your fridge and get locally made or locally grown delicious fresh vegetables than it is to go get something junky and unhealthy. So I like this with a lot of parsley. Like I said, this is all about your own taste. So if you don't like a lot of parsley, don't put a lot of parsley in. And then I'm just using, like I said, a salmon instead of a tuna, but I could have used a tuna certainly. I just think the salmon's prettier. It's a little pinker, and there's not much flavor difference really. And I'm just gonna use, this is a small serving of this, right? So I'm not gonna use this whole thing, but again, if you feel like you need a little more protein, add a little more. Jordan, do you like tuna? Will you come try this? Yes. And I'm just gonna finish it with a grinding of pepper rather. You don't really grate pepper. You can come on that, well, you can come on this side, this is fine. Okay. Come on, Scooter. He's got his own fork already.
He's ready to go.
He's ready to go.
Oh, that looks so pretty.
Pretty. Now, I haven't tasted this to see if I need to adjust the salt, but I always try to add less salt than you think you need, because you can always put more salt on, but it's really hard to take salt out.
Oh, that's good.
Do you like that? Mm-hmm. Lemony, fresh, really nice, right? You want a radish? No, Scooter's not feeling the radish.
He's not interested.
So that's our second little super quick salad. So you saw how quickly that came together with local stuff. You could certainly sub in other fresh herbs if you wanted. You could
stay and watch, maybe.
You could leave, that works. You could leave the fish in or out. I should have left some out so that we could give it to our friend Jennifer, who does not eat meat. All right, the third and final thing that I'm going to make is a chopped salad with this beautiful broccoli and cauliflower, both from from the Happy Hens. And I'm just going to, Jennifer, do you have another one of my bowls over there, vegetables? And I love cauliflower and I love broccoli and I love to cook it, but I also really think you love to eat it raw.
How are you? Good, how are you?
It's famous teacher.
Hi.
Brittany, how's your summer going, Miss Wolf?
It's going. We're
Yeah?
not really done anything
Yeah.
yet.
So Miss Wolf is one of our favorite customers, and it's partly because her daughter is amazing and will try any food. And I don't know how you raised a child that would try anything, but she's my spirit animal and I love her.
Jenny has
and
made her some
I
things.
appreciate that you are raising her to try new things. It's so important.
Oh, yeah, she's
So important. Alice Waters once said that when we open our minds to experience new food, we open our mind to experience all kinds of new things. You know, if you're afraid to try a new dish, then you might be afraid to try a new friend or afraid to try a new culture or afraid to try a new place. So really teaching our kids to try things and to be open-minded about them, I think is so important. So I'm just tearing this cauliflower apart, as you can see, just into sort of little florets. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to mix my dressing for this right in this, well, actually I'm going to put it in a jar and shake it. I could just mix it in a bowl. And what I'm using for this dressing, because I want this to be a little bit spicy and a little bit of a fuller flavor than just sort of a side dish. I want this to be able to stand on its own, although it certainly would go beautifully with some meat or with some chicken or something on the side, a piece of fish. It's also a dish that's going to stand alone, and I'm going to add some protein to it by using roasted chickpeas. So chickpeas, these are just canned garbanzo beans, canned chickpeas that I've taken and drained and rinsed really well and then really gotten the water off of them. And then I just toss them with a little bit of olive oil. And I used this. This is a Berbere season, it's a kind of seasoning that's found a lot of times in like North African foods. And let me just hold this up to the camera so you can smell it at home. But I really love it. But you could use any flavor profile that you wanted. You know, you could use any kind of a seasoning blend or just a little cumin, a little salt. But they're really delicious. I love to make these, and I do them in an air fryer, but I've also done them in the oven. I like to make them, they're a really good hiking snack because they last. But I'm going to top my salad with this to give it a little bit of added protein. So I'm just going to put these veg in here. I'm going to add some green pepper to it, and this pepper is from our friends over at Forks of Troublesome Foods over in Knott County. I drove over to their farmers market. I think it's on Tuesday nights. They've got a lot of beautiful things, including tomatoes coming in, but you got to get there fast to get them. How are you doing? I'm doing good. You want to try a little bite of our salad?
I don't believe I do this morning.
All right. It's early for salad.
Early for salad.
It is early for salad.
It looks good though.
Thank you. What did you buy today?
What did I buy? Honey and green onions.
What are you going to make?
Let's go see what we can't get with your carrot.
No, I need to go get some of those green onions. Well, that sounds good. Well, it's always good to see you. Okay, so I've just chopped up about half of this pepper. And again, you can see you can add anything to this that you want to, right? This is completely open for interpretation. I'm going to make a simple vinaigrette with this, and I'm going to use olive oil. And this time I'm going to get the zest of my lime with my microplane. So this is like a little tiny grater. I'm going to get some lime zest in there. And I don't have a recipe for this, so don't ask for one.
I was going to ask.
But remember that any time that you're making a salad, remember that anytime you're making a dressing, you want to figure out what you like. So the classic recipe is 3 parts oil to 1 part acid, whether that's a citrus or a vinegar or something else. Something a little bit sweet, some honey, some sorghum, some sugar to cut that. But figure out what you like. You might not feel like you need anything sweet to cut it. You might really like that. I prefer my dressings to be a little more acid, so I tend not to do 3 to 1. I tend to do 2 to 1, or somewhere in between. Just remember, if you know what tastes good to you, you can make dressing. Just start slow, add ingredients slowly, add more of what you think you need, and experiment. I mean, the worst thing that's going to happen is you're going to waste some oil and vinegar and have to toss it out, which is not the end of the world. So please get out there and make your own dressings. Once you start making your own dressings, you won't eat store-bought dressings because they always have a really weird, kind of a wang to them. Even the really fancy, even the super fancy organic ones. And so I'm just juicing this right in here. And to this, I'm going to add something that's going to make it a little bit spicy, and that is a little spoonful of something called harissa. And I've been wanting to make this from scratch, and I haven't yet. But I buy it by the jar, either at specialty stores, or sometimes I order it. And it's just a hot chili pepper paste with different herbs and spices. It's classically used, again, in a lot of North African foods. And I'm just going to put a little spoonful of this, if I can find my little spoonful. I have a little spoon somewhere. We'll just use this one. It's fine. So I'm gonna just put about this much in, and then I'm gonna mix it up, and I'm gonna taste it and see what I think it needs. Do I think it needs salt? I am gonna go ahead and add just a little bit of sorghum, which, like I said, this is my favorite thing to add to salad dressings because sorghum, it's locally produced, it's delicious, and it has an umami all its own, and it adds a really special flavor. In almost any dressing or recipe that calls for honey, I'll almost always switch out for a little bit of sorghum. I'm just putting a little bit. So that's it, just a tiny drizzle, because I don't want this dressing to be sweet. I just want enough of the sweetness to offset. And then I am gonna add a little bit of salt, not too much because the harissa has some salt in it. And I'm just gonna give that a good shake. And you can see here how much lime juice I have to oil. So I'm probably gonna wanna add more oil to this, but I'm gonna taste it first. Yeah, well, it's what I was doing Thursday. Yep, we're doing a cooking demo that we're gonna put on Facebook so people can see how to make things. So I can see that this is a little loose. I want it to be a little bit thicker. Silver tasting spoon. Yeah, this is definitely limey, so I'm gonna add some more olive oil to it. This will be way more than I need to dress these vegetables, but I'll stick it in my fridge. I have so many little jars of dressings and things in my fridge, and I'll tell you another little trick. So with this harissa, the last time I used up a jar, there was a little bit clinging to the inside of it, and I saved it, and I made this dressing in the harissa jar. And it's a really nice way when you've got mustards or things like that to use up those last little bits of flavor. Okay. That tastes really good to me. It's very limey. Somebody else might want more oil in it. Somebody else might want more heat in it. And we can do either. One other thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to chop up this red onion, which came from Old Home Place Farms as well. It was in my CSA share, I think, last week. And I like to use red onion. I love to use green onions too, but I love red onion for the pretty color that they make. And I usually try to keep some pickled red onion. Just look up how to quick pickle red onion in my fridge. That would not be remiss in this salad to use pickled onion instead of fresh onion. But for today, I'm going to use fresh onion. Now I can go ahead and I can dress this, and it's gonna stay nice for a few days anyway. If I were making this meal prepping for the rest of the week, I would chop the vegetables, store them, make the dressing, store it, and then I would put it together the day I was gonna eat it. But it will keep. These are pretty sturdy vegetables. You could also sub in some greens here if you wanted to. Really anything you want. Remember, if you know what tastes good to you, then you know how to cook. And I'm just gonna toss this. I think I want a little bit more. Now this is a completely vegetarian meal. It's completely vegan so far. And then I'm just going to garnish it with a little bit of chopped red onion. And I'm just slicing that thinly across. And then I'm gonna sort of stack it. And we're gonna scatter that across the top. I'm gonna garnish it with my chickpeas. Can we get you to taste this? No, that's what you say. Doesn't? No. It's got broccoli, cauliflower, harissa, olive oil, lime juice, salt.
I don't know. You said you don't have a recipe, but I think you might need to make a recipe.
Well, I can try. But
Yep.
it's really, with most of the stuff I make, it's really more of a technique and an idea than a recipe. So is it too limey? Do you think would you want to try any of our dishes?
It's a little limey for me, but it's really good.
Okay.
Go ahead. Here, this is my water.
So those were 3 quick things. I made a huge mess,
Have
but
approval.
Very good.
I made a huge mess, but I did it super quick. This came together. 3 things that I could stick in my fridge and have all week long to pull out. The pesto, which I could add spoonfuls of to dressing or to serve on meat or to serve on pasta. It's really good tossed with pasta or smeared across fresh bread. The radish and tuna salad. In this case, I did use salmon, but it has a lot of parsley and radishes and lemon. The simplest of our dishes, just a few ingredients. And then our harissa spiced chopped vegetables with chickpeas, roasted chickpeas. So come on down to the market. We're here on Thursday nights from 4 to 7. We're here on Saturday mornings from 7 till we sell out or noon, whichever comes first. Next week is Thursdays on the Triangle, so there'll be a lot more stuff down here. So come out. Remember, put your money into farmers' pockets that you love. Love, local food. Thank you to North Fork Local Foods for having us in, and we love our farmers markets.